two girls returned from the river with an amazing discovery that transformed everything forever. Lily and Emma emerged from the shimmering river, their laughter dancing along the sunlit banks of Willow Creek. Purportedly just another day of innocence, that summer afternoon, however, would unveil secrets that rippled through their existence. As the two girls plopped down on the grassy bank, water dripped from their sun-kissed hair, soaking the earth beneath them. It was there, amidst the serene echoes of nature, that they stumbled upon it, a fragile, dusty journal wedged between the rocks, beckoning them to dive into its tales. For Lily, that journal felt almost like a lifeline to a grandmother she had never met, but whose spirit lingered in whispered stories from her mother. As they flipped through the brittle pages, her heart raced with excitement alongside a gnawing fear. The vibrant tales of resilience leapt off the pages, igniting dreams Lily had buried beneath the weight of responsibility. Could she truly resurrect the family legacy? The notion of claiming the abandoned textile mill seemed empowering yet daunting. What did they know about running a business? And what if the town scoffed at their ambitions? Emma, on the other hand, felt a thrill in the prospect of entrepreneurship. They had spent countless hours navigating the wild, imaginative terrains of their minds, crafting elaborate business dreams suspended in fragile confidence. But that journal was different. It demanded action. Could they really weigh the burden of disappointment if things went awry? The possibility of failure clawed at her thoughts, a reminder of the risks against the comforting lull of daily routine. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Their hands trembled as Lily closed the journal with a shudder. The moment of ambition began to settle into the unsettling realization that their dreams were about to meet the skepticism of society, a society still scarred from its own economic wounds. The looming shadow of the town echoed in her mind, rooted in fear, projecting their uncertainty as merely childish whims. Would they ever be seen as more than naive girls chasing mirages? That night, the aroma of burgers faded into the background as they sat at the local diner, listening to the gravelly voice of Tom, the businessman notorious for devouring local establishments. Kids thinking they can save that old mill. What a joke! He laughed, eliciting laughter from his entourage. Each laugh felt like a dagger, twisting painfully in their hearts. Lily's throat tightened. Had they underestimated the challenge? Tension simmered, staying lodged in Emma's chest as the ambiance of familiar faces blurred into an uncertainty they feared might forever dull their resolve. The weight of their discovery took on a new shape. What if their dreams became entangled in something larger than either of them could handle? The ache for a stolen legacy deepened as dread enveloped them. Could they stand up against a cold, calculating industry titan who dismissed their hopes without a second thought? In that moment, the journal felt less like a beacon and more a stone weighing them down. They were caught in a storm, and soon they would need to decide whether to fight against it or surrender their dreams to the will of others. The river outside murmured soothingly, a stark contrast to the chaos inside them. The butterflies in Lily's stomach fluttered wildly, leaving her unable to shake the sensation that everything was hanging in the balance. As they faced the horizon of their future, would they be brave enough to challenge the tide? Fear churned in Lily's stomach as she lay in bed that night, the journal resting like a forbidden book on her nightstand. How could something so beautiful, the embodiment of her family's hopes, suddenly feel like an anchor? As the shadows danced across her room, she replayed Tom's derisive laughter over and over, each iteration slicing at her resolve until she questioned if they were foolish to dream. Her grandmother's spirit seemed to whisper encouragement, yet weighed down by the reality of the town's judgment. Lily felt paralyzed between two worlds, one of ambition and another dominated by caution. Emma, however, could hardly sleep either. In the dark, her mind whirled with possibilities. Was it really possible to turn the crumbling mill into a thriving business? The vibrant images of fabric flowing through the machines, laughter of workers, and the hum of a community rallying around their dream lit a fire in her. But with every bright thought came the specter of failure. reminding her how close Tom's mockery felt. Each scenario felt like an act on a delicate balance beam, and one misstep might send them tumbling into a chasm of ridicule. In the quiet of dawn, Lily rose early, pre-dawn light mingling with flickers of determination. She clutched her phone as she stared out the window, thinking of ways to turn her fears into action. If the town wouldn't believe in them, they would have to find proof of their potential. But how? She scoured social media, keen to learn about anyone who had successfully revived a fading store or an old factory. Every success story encouraged her, reminding her that courageous acts often came from unexpected places. Emma picked up her phone, hesitant, but soon found herself scrolling through videos showcasing successful young entrepreneurs. Each clip pulsated with energy, courage resonating in their every decision. They articulated risks, failures, and triumphs in a way that seduced her into dreaming bigger, of everything they could achieve if they pulled together. Later that afternoon, with the rising sun casting long shadows, they met by the river. Lily found Emma standing where they had first unearthed the journal, staring at the shifting water as if seeking answers. "We can't just talk about it," Emma urged, her voice steady yet tinged with urgency. "We must start planning how to transform that mill into something the town can rally behind, and we have to believe we can do it." The weight of her friend's conviction struck a chord, shaking away doubts. "You're right. Let's create a business plan. We need facts, strategies, and most importantly, a vision that draws people in," Lily responded, her heart swelling with newfound purpose. For the next few weeks, they pored over research, poring through the intricacies of managing finances and whipping up marketing plans. They called local business owners to hear their stories, learning what had worked for them and what hadn't. Each interaction fortified their resolve, revealing nuggets of wisdom buried under laughter and tribulations. Yet, despite their growing knowledge, the specter of Tom remained, a looming specter reminding them of their vulnerability, always waiting for a moment to unleash his ridicule. It stung whenever they ventured into town and caught his eye, each glance feeling like an accusation of unworthy ambition. It would only take one encounter to throw them off their carefully constructed path. As frustration mounted, a realization gripped Lily. They needed to confront that shadow, not with anger or confrontation, but with undeniable proof of their capability. Boldly, she turned to Emma one afternoon, determination shining in her eyes. "We should publicly present our vision. Let the town see that we mean business. It's time to show them who we really are." Emma met her gaze, excitement sparking between them. It would be a test of everything they had built, a moment of truth that could either ignite their dreams or force them back into their self-doubt. Without another word, they began charting their destiny anew. Unbeknownst to them, Tom sat in the diner that evening, laughing with his friends, oblivious to the storm brewing ahead. With their plan taking shape, Lily and Emma were about to challenge him. This time, not as naive girls, but as fierce, determined forces ready to claim their legacy. And the moment of truth approached. Soon, all Willow Creek would know their names. The first rays of sunlight danced across Lily's desk, illuminating piles of sketches and notes they had generated in their frenzy of planning. A shiver of anticipation coursed through her as she glanced at Emma, who was fervently typing away. It was happening. They were taking tangible steps toward their future. Yet the shadows of doubt still flickered at the edges of her mind. "Do you think we're ready for this?" Lily asked, the question slipping out before she could catch it. She hated feeling this way, afraid, second-guessing, but the thought of facing Tom and the townspeople sent a jolt of fear through her. Emma looked up, her expression resolute. "We have to be. This is our chance to show everyone what we're capable of, especially after all the research we've done. The mill isn't just a vision now. We have a strong foundation to stand on." Lily nodded, taking a deep breath. They had meticulously crafted a business plan based on careful research and insights from successful local entrepreneurs. In the quiet moments spent piecing their ideas together, she had discovered a passion for strategy and numbers she hadn't known existed. The thought of running the mill ignited something deep within her, sparking a determination she never anticipated. As their meeting progressed, excitement swirled between them, igniting their dreams with the enormity of what lay ahead. With each passing hour, however, Lily felt the clock pressing upon her, amplifying the anticipation of their public presentation. Doubts hovered like specters. What if Tom didn't just ridicule them? What if everyone else joined in? A deep breath steadied her resolve. They had crafted a narrative, a captivating story of resilience that could inspire the town to rally around them. She lifted her chin and stared at the wall adorned with fabric swatches and their handwritten notes, feeling the energy flow through her. What if we create a preview event, an art display showing what transformations the mill could undergo? Emma paused, her eyes sparkling. That could be perfect. If we showcase our vision visually, people will see it come to life. They'll feel part of it before it even exists. With enthusiasm, they began brainstorming. Lily's mind raced with thoughts of how to literally paint their dream, a vibrant array of colors, textures, and history woven into the fabric of their plan. Later that week, a small flyer made its way through town, announcing "The Future of Willow Creek, a vision for the old mill," an open public showcase of their project. The night before the event, however, a knot of anxiety settled in her chest. The moment she had been waiting for had arrived, yet it felt insurmountable. "What if it's not enough?" she fretted. Emma put her hand on Lily's shoulder. "It will be enough. You have to let go of the fear. Look at how far we've come together." That advice resonated, though her mind still battled the images of Tom's laughter. In a flash of conviction, Lily reached for the journal. As she carefully opened its pages, she scanned the handwritten notes and sketches left by her grandmother. "Nothing truly great is ever achieved without risk," she thought with a rush of empowerment. If only she could channel that spirit into the presentation. The event arrived, and the mill's old warehouse glowed under strings of twinkling lights. The atmosphere buzzed with a mix of anticipation and doubt. They needed to inspire courage, not just in themselves, but in the entire town. As people trickled in, she caught sight of Tom hover at the edge, a smirk on his face that made her gut twist. Emma squeezed her hand, and the look on her face erased the doubt lingering in Lily's mind. They would face this together. It was time to reclaim their narrative. Standing tall, Lily took a deep breath and stepped forward, ready to confront not just Tom, but all the fears they had battled against. The moment had arrived to unveil their vision, and with it, the chance to redefine who they were. But before she could begin, a voice interrupted from the back, a familiar, mocking tone that set her heart racing. "What ridiculous idea are you pushing now?" Tom's laughter rippled through the crowd, undercutting her confidence just as Lily was about to share the first words of their dream. In that moment, she realized they had reached a crossroads for their journey, not just in reclaiming the mill, but in asserting who they were as creators of their fate. The weight of the moment pressed down as she squared her shoulders, ready to transform that moment of ridicule into a rallying point. Lily opened her mouth to speak, her heart thundering. The time had come to face the one voice that questioned all she believed she could do. Lily's pulse quickened at Tom's taunt, but in that fleeting instant, clarity surged within her. She was no longer the girl weighed down by uncertainty. She was an emerging leader. The thrill of having nothing to lose ignited an unwavering fire in her belly. Stepping into the spotlight wasn't merely about the mill. It was about putting herself out there, about rewriting her story. "What's ridiculous?" Lily's voice rang steady, cutting through the murmur of the crowd, "is the idea that we can't achieve something extraordinary when we work together. This mill isn't just a building. It's a representation of resilience, of our past, and of our potential." A ripple of surprise moved through the audience. There were murmurs, some intrigued, some still skeptical, but she had made a small crack in their preconceived notions. Ignoring Tom's scowl, she lifted the fabric swatches they'd painstakingly curated. The vibrant colors shifted in the light, practically alive with possibility. "We're inviting you to dream with us," she continued. "Imagine transforming this worn-down relic into a thriving space for creativity and community. Picture art studios where this town's talent can flourish, workshops that rejuvenate age-old skills, and a cafe that echoes laughter over cups of fresh coffee. This isn't just our dream, it's yours too." As she spoke, she could feel the energy thickening in the air, attention turning into hope. She noticed several faces in the crowd brightening, and even a few skeptics leaning in to hear her words. With every detail Lily painted, she saw their expressions shift. The barriers built by Tom's ridicule were beginning to dissolve in the light of her conviction. But the moment was fleeting. Tom's retort came swift and biting. "You think a bunch of swirling colors and pretty words will change anything? You don't even know what it takes to run a business." His tone sent a shiver down her spine, a vivid reminder of her insecurities. But instead of retreating, a surge of something defensively fierce bubbled up. This was not just about answering him, it was about proving to herself that she was capable. "You're right, Tom," she said, recognizing the intricate dance of pressure building within her. "I don't know everything, but I've learned a lot. I've spent sleepless nights researching successful models, reaching out to people who've built thriving businesses from the ground up. This is a collaborative effort, driven by a shared vision." The weight of her grandmother's wisdom surfaced in her mind. Perhaps it was time to challenge not only Tom but also herself to trust in that knowledge, and in her growing ability to adapt and lead. Emma, standing resolutely beside her, chimed in, "And we're not asking anyone to do this alone. We're opening our doors to mentorship, community engagement, and opportunities for everyone. Together we can create something beautiful, a new chapter for Willow Creek." A low buzz of conversation rippled through the crowd. There was a shift, curiosity now woven with skepticism. Was there something more tangible behind their fabric swatches? Just as tension began to settle, Lily felt the weight of the moment again. She could sense the duality of interest and apprehension saturating the air, but it was the stinging reminder of Tom's disbelief that snapped her focus back. "And what if we fail?" A voice broke through the din. It belonged to someone in the back, resonating like a bolt from the blue. A knot tightened in her stomach. They were not just confronting Tom but the pivoting fears of the whole town. What if failure was indeed the only option? How could she face that uncertainty head-on? She steadied herself, recognizing the truth behind the fear-soaked inquiry. Failures were markers, lessons stretching across the canvas of achievement. "Failure might be possible," she admitted, feeling the authenticity of her words seep through. "But so is success. If we never try, we'll never know, and you all deserve the chance to know." This was turning out to be more than just a presentation. The stakes were higher than she ever imagined. The growing tension of their acceptance or refusal loomed heavy in the air. The weighty silence was shattered by Tom's scoff, but it coincided with the glimmers of hope ignited in the faces of those present. The challenge lay before them, and with it, an undeniable opportunity. Lily's heart thumped against her chest, consciousness expanding as she realized the extent of their potential and the journey that lay ahead. The coiled energy around them was waiting for one more courageous push. With her breath hitching in anticipation, she pulled the journal closer, ready to channel her resolve. And just as she was about to take that leap, reveal a passage that could seal their resolve, a chilling whisper threaded through the edges of her consciousness, as doubt threatened once more. Could she truly summon the courage to navigate what lay ahead, or would Tom's taunting inevitably unwind everything she had fought for? Lily felt the weight of her breath catch in her throat, suspended in the moment. Each heartbeat hammered the realization that the collective gaze of the crowd awaited her next words. It was both exhilarating and terrifying. The air around her hummed with potential, each silent face a canvas painted by the fears and dreams she had so fervently tried to ignite. The doubt gnawed at her, twisting her insides with a familiar unease. But for every shudder of uncertainty, there was a whisper of determination urging her forward. She gripped the journal in her hand tighter, feeling the texture of its cover beneath her fingers. Sturdy, seasoned, a testament to the ideas it held within. "Do you remember the stories your parents told you about this mill?" she began, her voice steady yet soft, reaching out like a thread to draw them in. She could see a few nodding, their eyes reflecting a flicker of shared history. About how it once thrived, how it brought life and community together? "We're standing on the brink of writing a new chapter, a narrative that doesn't end in decay but one of revival." As she spoke, Lily's focus shifted inward, peeling back layers of her past. Memories of tentative sketches she had made in the quiet of her room swirled in her mind, ideas fueled by hope, fear, and the faint glow of ambition. The revelation of what she had learned pooled in her core. She was not alone. This vision wasn't solely hers to carry. With necessity came collective intelligence, resources summoned not just from her own desire but from the strengths within her community. Tom's voice flared again, venomous and sharp. "And how do you plan on keeping that selfish dream from crashing? You're just a kid pretending to be a revolutionary." A primal urge to protect what she had crafted stirred in Lily. "You're wrong, Tom. This isn't a facade or a childish whim. It's deeply personal and profoundly collective." There was a resonance in her voice, a sudden clarity about the power of her beliefs. What you see as naivete, I see as a spark. We all have the potential to rise, to bring forth creativity and collaboration. All it takes is a beginning. In the back of her mind, she was aware that this was more than a debate. It was a defining moment. If she could soften the skeptics like clay, she had the chance to reshape a community. But the question remained, would they let her? With decisive determination, she stepped away from the makeshift podium and moved toward the crowd, fanning the embers of connection. Imagine a space where children can explore their artistic voice, a place where the elderly can mentor them, passing down the skills that define us, a sanctuary of purpose. Each word ignited sparks among the crowd. She had them, and she knew it. But it all begins with our courage to embrace possibility. As she spoke, a sea of faces shifted. Uncertainty merged into a myriad of expressions, curiosity intertwined with hope, skepticism challenged by imaginations igniting. Through the marching beat of her heart, Lily realized she was evolving not just as a leader, but as a conduit for potential. But there was a flicker of dissent still lurking in the shadows, reminders looming that not all battles could be fought easily. Tom's presence bore down like a cloud, refusing to relent. And if you fail, what then? Instead of crumbling at his doubt, Lily felt resolve tumble forward like a wave against a craggy shore. If we fail, she stated, her voice louder and more assured, we learn, we adapt, we push through, but we will never know what's possible if we don't try. A wave of energy rippled through her, igniting confidence she didn't know she possessed. The moment stood poised between her past trepidation and future possibility. But inside, a darker doubt lingered. Could she sustain this? What if the applause faded and she was left standing alone once more? Just then, an unexpected voice broke through the tension, a soft timbre, hesitant yet shattering the uncertainty. What if we partner with the businesses in town? It was a young woman from the crowd, eyes bright with realization. At that moment, a surge of hope swelled within Lily. They were on the brink of something tangible. As ideas began to tumble forth from faces that had previously been masked by hesitation, she felt the collective pulse of innovation manifesting. Yet as the excitement grew, so did the awareness of the obstacles looming, not just from outside but from within, the unresolved fears that could yet sabotage every effort. Determined to confront them, Lily drew a deep breath, ready to answer back to the fear that hunger for control had once instilled in her. But first, she had to navigate the shifting dynamics of trust, fear, and ambition. The vital question pulsed in her mind. Could she harness the tides of this moment and steer them toward success? Or would she lose the very thing she had fought so desperately to create? With the crowd rallying around new ideas, and Tom's static threat lurking just beneath the excitement, she felt the fabric of her future unfurling in front of her. At that moment, Lily's inner turmoil became a charged anticipation. Would she rise to meet the challenge ahead and orchestrate a symphony of unity, or falter under the weight of her fear? The answers beckoned from just beyond her grasp, waiting to be discovered. The tentative energy of the crowd swirled around Lily as she stood in the eye of their anticipation. Ideas crackled like static between them. The initial doubt, woven in like a tapestry, began to fray at the edges. Each new suggestion, interspersed with laughter and nods of agreement, fed something deep within her. She craved connection, not just between herself and the crowd, but among everyone present. The right steps loomed ahead of her, beckoning in a way that felt both thrilling and substantial. With a surge of resolve, she approached the young woman who had spoken out, hopeful that this ally could be her bridge between doubt and action. What if we brainstorm a campaign together? If partnering with local businesses is the way forward, then we need a plan to engage them. We could use your idea as a launchpad, she urged, her excitement palpable. The young woman, whose name Lily learned was Mia, lit up with possibility. Absolutely. We could create a community showcase, mixing art and local commerce. Get local artists to display their work and draw in people from outside. It would highlight the mill's potential and rally businesses around a shared vision. A humming feeling surged through Lily, the raw potential of partnership alighting her senses. Ideas flowed freely, pitching between them with an electric current that anchored her thoughts. This was it, the turning point she desperately sought. But just as Lily felt the spark igniting within her, Tom with his scornful presence loomed at the periphery, mocking skepticism lingering still in her mind. Could their ideas turn into reality? Would those unfamiliar with such collaborative energy understand the intention behind it? He hadn't given up, and neither had the shadow of self-doubt creeping into her thoughts. Taking a deep breath, she squarely faced the audience, her voice steady. If we are willing to take the leap together, we can rewrite what this place represents, a tapestry woven from all our threads. Her tone carried an authority she had yet to fully embody, shaking off the remnants of uncertainty that had plagued her before. Yet still, another question arose like a phantom. What if their ideas didn't yield enough interest to sustain the project? I think, another voice broke through. It was Greg, an influential business owner known for his staunch pragmatism. I think what we need is the community actively participating, not just showing up. If they don't believe in this, it won't matter how perfectly you pitch it. We need their buy-in, their commitment. Lily steeled herself against the drift of Greg's skepticism. True, she acknowledged, but what if the act of involving them from the start changes everything? We invite them to the table not as spectators but as co-creators. Her heart raced. Each word hung, reverberating in the charged atmosphere. Let's see how many of them, marketers, artisans, shop owners, are willing to share their vision, not just their resources. As she surveyed the crowd, she sensed a shift, muscles relaxing, shoulders slowly settling as if layers of hesitation peeled away. This was her moment. She could feel the solidarity solidifying into purpose. To weave them into the narrative she envisioned became her objective, whether they knew it or not. The ideas rippled outward from her, yet she understood she was merely at the threshold of what was possible. Establishing trust among them now felt essential, an act of crafting a woven fabric where every thread counted. But as the conversation built momentum, Lily sensed an undercurrent of skepticism, not just from Tom, but within herself. Doubt still tainted her ambitions, an uninvited guest lurking in the back of her thoughts. Would the fire of this moment sustain under scrutiny? The fear of failure crept ever closer, whispering of the risks if they couldn't truly pull this off. Lily pressed forward, igniting a dialogue as new ideas danced in the intellectual ether, though between moments of inspiration, the specter of realities pushed against her. What if we create a committee that includes everyone willing to contribute from the start? Mia chimed in, excitement revealing itself through her tone. It would signal to the community that their voice matters. Yes, Lily echoed, stoked by the idea. Yet even as the energy surged, a knot twisted in her stomach. The path of transformation was treacherous, dotted with obstacles still shrouded in ambiguity. She locked eyes with Mia, willing to bury her fear beneath the embers of hope still flickering between them. Together we can find that balance. We can teach our community to embrace the unsteady ground beneath their feet, a place where risk births potential. And we will face the naysayers as a united front. Just as she spoke, a shadow fell behind her, and Lily turned to see Tom step forward. His sharp eyes narrowed, gaze fixed on her with a determination that ignited a fresh wave of trepidation. Are you really prepared to lead this circus? What happens when they see your plan fall flat? He challenged, cold mockery lacing every word. The taunt hung in the air like an ominous cloud. Yet in that moment, as the crowd simmered with burgeoning ideas and encouragement, an unshakable realization washed over her. Failure was indeed a possibility, but it wasn't the defeat he intended it to be. Failure could be her greatest teacher. With the ground shifting, Lily felt empowered by their collective curiosity. Failure will only lead to lessons, and those lessons will shape our journey. Let's leap together into the unknown and create something inspiring. I won't hold back any longer. That pledge was not just a promise to them, but a declaration to herself. With every heartbeat, she tailored her resolve, ready to encounter whatever obstacles lay ahead. She had a vision to protect and a mission to honor. As the crowd murmured with fresh enthusiasm, Lily turned back to glance at Tom. A challenge lingered between them. His defiance seemed more a reflection of his own inadequacies than of her potential. Are you prepared to see what we can achieve when we shift from doubt to collaboration? She fired back. Tom's glare, sharp and unyielding, met hers as a flicker of uncertainty danced at the edges. Though her heart raced, Lily understood she walked a path woven with both the hope of aspiration and the shadows of opposition. she would have to navigate through every doubt weighing her down, defying failure. What transformative surprises lay ahead? The answers hung in the ether, and she felt compelled to grasp them. Lily's heart was a drum in her chest, each beat a reminder of both the possibility she had ignited in the crowd and the pressure of the challenge posed by Tom. The moment felt suspended, where anticipation braided with anxiety, and she realized that this was the crucible in which her ideas would either be forged or rendered as ash. She took a step forward, her eyes sweeping across the crowd now buzzing with speculation and hope. "Mia," she called, her voice steadying her, "let's formulate an outline for how we'll engage everyone. Real elevation doesn't come from talking, it comes from doing, from taking those first steps together. We need to draw everyone in." Mia nodded eagerly, and Lily could sense the momentum building around them. This was no longer just her ambition, it was their ambition, a shared vessel crafted from fragments of their dreams. As they hashed out an action plan, sketches of ideas emerged, leveraging social media to create buzz, involving local schools to attract the youth, stationing pop-up booths around town for visibility. They framed it not simply as a campaign, but as a movement, a shift that could transform perception and reality. "Let's identify passionate voices in our community," Mia suggested, "people who can rally support and help spread the word." Lily agreed, appreciating the vitality of the concept. At that moment, the shadows lurking in Tom started to fade, but still, there remained a vestige of hesitation within her own psyche. What if their efforts were met with indifference? What if Tom was right? What if this was nothing more than pie in the sky? Shake it off, she thought. Each doubt was just a weed among the wildflowers blooming. She worked to confront this mental block, knowing that self-doubt was a persistent foe in the journey toward growth. "Here's the thing," she spoke out, pausing to articulate her thoughts more clearly to the crowd. "Every monumental change starts with slight ripples. We have to believe we're stronger together. We don't need to win over everyone at once. We just need to find a handful of believers who'll carry the torch with us." Her sincerity washed over those present, kindling the light within their eyes. She also acknowledged the cracks behind what she said, where her own certainty wavered. The ghosts of hesitation haunted her, but she pressed forth, shadows falling behind. Lily could feel the urgency rising in the room. This was more than an idea. It was a living, breathing vision, fragile yet potent. The moment Tom had thrown down the gauntlet, every word she spoke became a lifeline thrown into turbulent waters. Yet just as the dynamic shifted towards optimism, she caught Tom's eye again. His gaze now bore a mixture of respect and disbelief, pinning her to the spot. "Fine," he declared, a half-smile twitching at his lips. "Let's see if you can back up this lofty talk with solid action, lest you fall flat on your face." His challenge felt like grease on flames, uncertainty crackling and swirling around the edges of her newfound resolve. With every word of his, the stakes solidified. There appeared layers to his critique that hinted at something personal. It was more than skepticism. It felt like a dare. Lily met his gaze unflinchingly. The risk of trying is far less intimidating than the certainty of doing nothing at all. She spoke not just to him, but to every disbeliever lurking in the crowd. If she could invite them to see the flicker of hope that burned fiercely within, perhaps the communal fire could grow and transform their collective vision. In that moment of defiance, a realization dawned on her. To lead meant exposing herself to criticism, yes, but it also required embracing vulnerability as a source of strength. Most important, it would now mean actively pursuing the creation of this venture, crafting not just a statement, but an experience. Challenging Tom had sparked a fresh resolve within her. What if her confrontation was a gateway, not just to push through the fears of the moment, but to unveil a sharper version of herself, one willing to grapple with pushback and wield it as a tool for growth? As she felt that clarity swell within, questions swirled, all with the same core. Who could she become amidst adversity? Unsure yet exhilarated, she shared her thoughts with the group, each word weaving into a tapestry of possibilities. "Let's set our first meeting. We'll pull together our ideas and flesh them out. I want everyone contributing. This has to be collaborative. I believe we can do this. We may flounder at times, but that doesn't make us failures. It makes us learners." As the audience nodded and murmured agreement, Lily felt the initial shadows of doubt begin to dissipate. The encouragement buoyed her spirit, lifting her beyond the fears constricting her vision. But as she took in their faces, a pulsating excitement resonated through her frame. There lay the unmistakable weight of expectation, an unmarked path stretching into the unknown. What revelations about herself awaited in the uncharted realm of accountability? The stakes felt sharply defined, and as her heart raced onward, the thrill of these new questions stirred within her. How far was she willing to go, and what discoveries lay just beyond the veil of fear? Lily spent the next few days wrestling with her ambitions against the backdrop of doubt and expectation. Awash in a tumult of ideas, she turned her focus inward. Each meeting she attended, each note she took grew sharper, igniting a hunger within her not merely to lead, but to understand the contours of her own potential. She felt the pressure rising, and with it, a new determination slowly churned in her core. Amidst this whirlwind, she carved out a moment of solitude, her sanctuary of clarity. Sitting with a notebook in hand in a quiet corner of the coffee shop, the murmur of conversations melted into a distant hum. She scribbled fervently, mapping out her thoughts like constellations in a dark sky. Every word was a step toward not just a plan but a revelation. What had once felt daunting about taking the lead in this venture now began to morph into an exhilarating challenge. Her previous insecurities felt like shadows breaking under a bright sun. She came to realize that vulnerability had its own power. It created space for growth and authenticity. Each flicker of fear was an opportunity for clarity, clarity that would become her lighthouse amidst the tumultuous waves of uncertainty. She resolved to confront her fears head-on. Was the pressure of expectation external, or had she internalized it in a way that distorted her own understanding of success? What did success even mean in the context of her goals? This was not just a project. It was a chance to redefine herself. It was personal. In meetings with Mia, she began experimenting with styles of leadership that felt more genuine, more aligned with who she was. Instead of simply directing the flow, she invited feedback openly. "How do you envision this?" became a leading question that marked her contributions. What once could have been seen as a weakness turned into an invitation for innovation and inclusivity. Each reflection returned richer than the last, and with every iteration, her confidence deepened. Mia was her sounding board, her trellis as they both grew. "You're tapping into something bigger," Mia encouraged during one session, a sparkle of realization glowing in her eyes. "It's not just about what we are doing. It's about how we are becoming as a team. You're unlocking your own why in this." Yet, just as she felt momentum gathering through newfound perspectives, Tom, sensing her shift and renewed vigor, stepped up his critiques. "You've got ideas, but ideas without execution are just dreams," he challenged during a heated exchange post a meeting. His voice echoed with a blend of provocation and admiration, as if he wanted to see how far she would push herself. This time, instead of recoiling, Lily leaned into the discomfort. "Execution requires belief, Tom. And I am building belief, not just in myself, but in all of us," she countered, her voice steady. The exchange was electric. She felt a surge of energy ripple through her, echoing the aspiring leader she was molding herself into. His skepticism, rather than discouraging her, became the flint igniting her burgeoning resolve. As she left that meeting, she confronted an unsettling question. Was she merely proving herself to him, or was this transformation genuinely hers to claim? The distinction felt vital. Reaching home, she stood in front of the mirror, grappling with the identity she was shaping. Today's challenges were shaping a framework for who she might become, and she was ready to embrace it, never relinquishing her core values, never letting external voices drown out her internal compass. What did it mean to trust her voice as a leader? The complexities of fostering collaboration juxtaposed with her struggle for self-affirmation weighed heavily on her mind. But through the tension, an exhilarating sense of discovery pulsed. If she could cement her authenticity amidst a choir of doubt, she might lead others toward their own breakthroughs. The wind outside whispered possibilities, each gust stirring her thoughts. Less than a week remained before her first initiative, now just around the corner. She planned to test not only her ideas, but also her own mettle against the very landscape of expectation she had begun to navigate. As she turned the light off in her room, the uncertainty coiled inside her with a strange thrill. What truths about her own capabilities would emerge in this trial by fire? The moment was approaching, and with it, the chance to unveil a more evolved version of herself. How would this confrontation with Tom and her emerging initiative shatter her boundaries? She could feel the tension building, both exhilarating and terrifying, as she braced for the transformative journey ahead. The days leading up to her initiative were charged with an electric anticipation that seemed to permeate every corner of Lily's being. Each moment was weighed with both possibility and fear. She found herself pacing in her small apartment, the walls lined with remnants of her previous self, posters of motivational quotes that now felt trite against the raw reality of her ambition. It was in these fleeting moments of solitude that clarity often struck, almost like an uninvited guest. She would sit, grappling with a question that was as much about leadership as it was about identity. Who was she becoming? Did her evolving leadership style embody the person she aspired to be? Or was she merely adapting her behavior to fit the mold that others expected? With these thoughts swirling, she picked up her notebook again, flipping through pages filled with tentative sketches of ideas and half-formed thoughts. "Why did I ever doubt myself?" she'd mutter under her breath as a resolute fire reignited within her. Fueled by this growing necessity for self-forgiveness, she began jotting down her fears alongside her aspirations, a 2-column list that unveiled more than she anticipated. What she once perceived as flaws started to reveal the contours of resilience. She craved authenticity, not just for herself, but for her peers. Entering the office the next day, her freshly sharpened focus felt palpable. The air buzzed with conversations, laughter, and brainstorming streams. Lily was finally ready to embrace the authenticity that had been urging her to rise. "Let's reapproach our methods," she proposed in the teaming room, finding strength in her previously identified vulnerabilities. "I want us to experiment with open forums during meetings. Let's strip down the formal structure and build conversations instead." Tom's eyebrow arched slightly, his skepticism almost palpable in the heavy air. But this time, the weight of his doubt felt lighter. "You know that's a risk, don't you?" he replied, eyeing her closely. Instead of retreating, she leaned forward, relishing the moment her vulnerability transformed into conviction. "Risk is where innovation lives, Tom," she replied, matching his gaze with a newfound steadiness. "If we don't dive into the unknown together, we'll remain stagnant." The air in the room shifted slightly. There it was, a glimpse of recognition, a flicker of respect passing between them. In the days that followed, something remarkable unfolded. The meetings became alive with energy. Instead of being the one to drive every agenda, she acted as a facilitator, providing space for everyone to fuel the momentum of ideas. Comments flowed freely, hidden talents unearthed, and each voice contributed layers of insight that she hadn't anticipated. Not only did her peers start taking ownership of the initiatives, but they also began to recognize their own capacity for leadership. However, while the dynamics shifted positively, her internal landscape still thrummed with questions. Was she adequately prepared to confront the unexpected resistance that might emerge when they implemented her ideas? The quiet hum of internal doubt mixed with anticipation, the backdrop for her next steps. As the day of execution loomed closer, Lily knew the stakes were unusually high. The room would be filled not just with the usual suspects, but with higher-ups who would gauge every word, every action, and every decision she made. What if the feedback turned sour? Would this curve the momentum she had worked so hard to cultivate? Or worse, would the team retreat beneath her leadership entirely? Standing before her reflection once more, she practiced her opening remarks. Each word was woven with intent, preparing her not just to present ideas, but to embody the leader she was becoming, that fiery bridge between her aspirations and the unpredictable future ahead. A chill ran through her as she turned away from the mirror. With each day, she was edging closer to her limits. But did she have the courage to tear them down completely? Her thoughts flickered to Tom's critical gaze and fueled a mixture of determination and anxiety that wrapped around her heart. Just as she was about to close her notebook, an email notification popped up, an unexpected reminder that the presentation was due the next day. A voice inside urged her to validate what she was nurturing. She wasn't merely participating in this venture, she was changing the narrative. How far was she willing to go to embrace every potentiality? Who would she ultimately reveal herself to be when the moment would arrive? That question lingered as she prepared to step into a new chapter, one filled with inevitable trials and opportunities waiting to be seized. A lifetime of possibilities unfurled before her as she took a deep breath and prepared to face both the internal and external doubts head-on. The dawn of the day had arrived, a gentle light filtering through the curtains with the promise of fresh beginnings. Lily stood at the window, heart racing, contemplating the transformative journey that lay ahead. Today wasn't just a presentation. It symbolized the culmination of every fear and every hope she had confronted since discovering that journal by the river. She could feel the energy buzzing in her veins, an infectious anticipation rippling through her body. She had faced Tom and withstood his scrutiny, but now her focus shifted from defending her vision to embracing the power of collaboration. This time, she was no longer the girl wrestling with her ambitions in the shadows. She was eagerly stepping into the light of leadership, primed to unite her community around a common cause. As she arrived at the venue, she noticed the buzz of voices illuminating the air, conversations intertwining, hope electrifying the atmosphere. Friends, business owners, and neighbors gathered, each ready to embrace the unfolding potential. This was it. She had galvanized them, and the realization dawned that she wasn't alone. Their dreams interwove like threads, stitching a tapestry of collective aspirations. Lily took a deep breath, allowing the weight of her journey to settle into her bones. She approached the stage, the wooden platform solid beneath her feet, a stark reminder of the ground she had fought to claim. As her gaze swept over the crowd, she felt the collective heartbeat reverberate back to her, a rhythm of unity she had ardently fostered. "Thank you all for being here today," she began, her voice steady, confidence radiating from her core. "We are not just discussing a mill, we are igniting the pulse of Willow Creek, daring to dream beyond limitations." Nods and murmurs rolled through the audience, encouragement fueling her momentum. With every word, she painted a vivid picture of the possibilities that awaited them. Art galleries that celebrated local talent, workshops that breathed life into forgotten crafts, and spaces where community bonds could flourish. Tom's gaze from the back bore down on her, ever the skeptic. Yet as she continued, she felt the tension within her melt into a passionate energy. Together, we can transform this once obsolete structure into a beacon of creativity, a hub that breathes life back into our beloved town. Applause echoed, a sound that resonated deep within her, fortifying her purpose. Yet she knew this was only the beginning. She needed their active engagement. Let's share our stories. How can we mobilize our talents and passions? How can we commit to this vision together? Hands began to rise across the room, and she recognized the familiar faces of those who had previously held back. The room buzzed with excitement as ideas flowed freely, discussions igniting as old barriers shattered. Each voice uplifted the next, and where doubt had once repelled them, it now drew them together into collective empowerment. With every idea shared and every concern raised, she guided the dialogue, welcoming all inputs. No longer just an individual in her mission, she embraced her role as a facilitator, completely aligning herself with the community's needs and aspirations. It all unfolded right before her eyes. This was a shared journey, and her vision was merely the catalyst stimulating the creativity that already existed. Suddenly, Tom stood abruptly, silence enveloping the room. "And what happens once the novelty wears off?" His voice cracked through the energy, tones laced with skepticism. Lily felt the familiar thread of anxiety, but this question didn't feel like a setback. Rather, it was a chance for dialogue. "Just as every flower needs nurturing to bloom, so will our endeavor," she addressed him confidently, an unwavering steadiness in her tone. "We commit to monitoring our progress, embracing adjustment as an essential part of our growth. This is not just a one-time effort. This is a commitment to every person in this community." The applause that followed felt like an unwavering tide, swaying in rhythm with her heart. Conviction swelled inside her as the congregation began to erupt into conversation. Tom's furrowed brow exhibited a flicker of respect, and for the first time, she reveled in the realization that she had not only answered him, but had transformed a challenge into a point of connection. Gradually, as discussions escalated and alliances formed, she culminated the session with a clear vision. Imagine us standing together, witnessing the first fabric woven in our revived mill, the sounds of creativity filling the air. This community can rally behind a vision of resilience if we are willing to believe in ourselves. Lily stepped back, breathless, watching their eyes sparkle with possibility. They had moved beyond skepticism. Everyone in that room envisioned a future they could create together. As conversations deepened, a quiet understanding emerged. They were united not just as a business, they were kindred spirits, committed to reclaiming a legacy. Days stretched into weeks after the presentation, and Lily felt the energy of progress coursing through her. Endless brainstorming sessions unfolded, alliances with local artists flourished, and the mill began to come alive within everyone's imagination. She had achieved more than she ever thought possible. Yet amid the building excitement, she refused to lose sight of authenticity. Every interaction, every proposal reinforced her guiding principle. Collaboration defined success. With every piece of feedback, she grew not only as a leader, but as a confident individual ready to embrace the unfolding future. In those moments, as she watched the vision materialize, a proud realization blossomed within her. She wasn't just reclaiming a building, she was creating a legacy, both for her community and herself. Each day, she worked side by side with her peers, shaped by the unyielding threads of determination. On the day of the reopening, surrounded by familiar faces, Lily dug deeper into herself than she ever thought necessary, grateful for every challenge faced along that journey. Standing before the mill, ready to unveil the initiative, she felt an overwhelming sense of closure coming full circle. The fulfillment of her aspirations intertwined with those of her community. They had shared dreams, faced doubts head-on, and now stood together with tangible belief. The mill, once a hollow husk of disappointment, sparkled with renewed potential, a testament to the power of collaboration, courage, and the unwavering truth behind resilience. As she cut the ribbon, laughter echoed and cheers filled the air. The reaffirmation that together they had conquered their fears and marked the dawn of a new chapter, one imbued with hope, unity, and the relentless pursuit of dreams. These achievements were not hers alone. They symbolized a collective triumph, a narrative consumed with grace and grit, leading her toward a future she was finally prepared to embrace. This was her moment. The life she had always hoped to proclaim was now hers to live. The journey had forged her into a leader, and as every door opened wide, Lily stepped forward, ready to define who she would become in the years ahead. You need to subscribe now to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories. This is the moment to show your support by leaving a like for us to reach more hearts and minds. Don't wait, even one more second. Comment your reactions and theories about the ending below, and share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Your support is what makes these transformative tales possible.